welcome to this July 13th, 2020 City Council meeting. Thank you for joining us in this remote meeting format we're using in response to Governor Brown's Stay Home, Save Lives order. This format enables City Council to meet, hear from the community, and take care of business while keeping its members, staff, and the public safe. Following our first couple of items tonight, there will be a public forum followed by 6 action items. There are several housekeeping announcements and instructions related to the meeting format that I need to take care of first. Thank you for your patience while we work our way through these. First, anyone wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed for this meeting on the public webcast and meeting materials web page. For those who join the meeting via computer, device, or phone, your microphone, webcam, and phone are automatically muted when you enter the meeting as an attendee. If you wish to participate during the public forum portion of the meeting and haven't already done so, please raise your virtual hand now to join the speaker's queue in one of 2 ways. For those viewing the meeting on a computer, laptop, or other device, click once on the blue hand icon. For those listening to the meeting on the phone, press *9. We will continue accepting raised hands until 7:35. The meeting moderator will unraise or disallow any requests to speak that are made after the deadline. When the public forum begins, our meeting moderator will announce 2 speakers at a time. When it is your turn, the moderator will announce your name and unmute your microphone. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Finally, I want to thank everyone for your patience, flexibility, and good humor as we work through this virtual meeting format. As always, feel free to contact me and any one of us, any of the counselors individually or together via email or voicemail, if there is testimony you are not able to provide or wish to get to us in a different manner. And now, we will open tonight's meeting. This is one of just a few ceremonial nights we have during the year. We will open tonight's reading by reading the preamble and Bill of Rights from the United States Constitution and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag in honor of Independence Day on July 4th. So to begin with that reading, we will take it in turns. We begin with Counselor Semple.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this, especially the First Amendment, since I've been arrested 3 times for infringement of my First Amendment rights. Here we go. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridge the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievance.
The Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Third Amendment. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law.
The Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
The Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in favor, and to have assistance of counsel for his defense.
Seventh Amendment. In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law.
Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. The Ninth Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
And the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. And now, please join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oops. Thank you all very, very much. It's very reminder to reread the Bill of Rights. And so thank you all for participating in that at this time. So our first item is committee reports and items of interest. Our first item of business are committee reports and items of interest. Are there counselors who have items they wish to have or any committee reports? Oh, you know what? I'm not seeing participants raising hands. Let me do this. Okay, I have Counselor Ye and Counselor Semple.
Okay, so I had some information to bring back from the Police Commission Chair. We just met last week. So currently, or I think this is the end, there were 114 applications received for the Police Commission, which is very exciting. And those are being gone through, and interviews will be taking place, if they haven't started already, shortly by a subcommittee. And I understand they're going to be working with Mayor Vinnis on that as well. So that's going forward. And I also wanted to report back on the items that the Police Commission has determined to be that they're going to be reviewing, not necessarily in this order, but policy. I guess I won't give you the numbers, you don't care, but public assembly and demonstrations, civil disturbances, field force, pepper balls, and handcuffing, control holds, and impact weapons. Like I said, not necessarily in that order, but those are the policies that were prioritized for review by the Police Commission. Thank you.
Counselor Semple.
Thank you. The Human Rights Commission doesn't usually meet in July, but last Tuesday we had a special meeting in order to have a 2-hour listening session from, I think it was 7 different groups from Black Lives Matter organizations, and then public comment. It was at times uncomfortable, it was enthusiastic, and it was really good to do that. Liking to listen and hearing, even if I don't like to hear it sometimes. I have something else I'd like to talk about, and that's masks. I don't know if you can read this, but I put things on it. Getting a lot of mail about wearing masks, mostly about how people don't want to wear masks, and it's against their constitution, the Constitution, their Constitution. So I want to offer all those people my utmost sympathy, because I don't like them either. I have claustrophobia issues, and I can usually make it 10 or 15 minutes before I have to leave. So I don't go very many places. But starting on Wednesday, the governor has said that we all have to wear masks outside unless you can get like across the street. So I'm encouraging everyone to wear their masks and protect me and everyone else. Now, this kind isn't as cute as the novelty fabric ones, but you can decorate them yourselves. And I find them much more comfortable. I actually wore it for an hour without remembering it was on. So I encourage you, please, I ask you, wear your masks. Save lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Zelenka.
Yes, I'd like to reiterate wearing masks. I don't have one right handy with me, but I would wear it too in support. I went out on Saturday and did some errands, and went to Lowe's and Freddie Meyer, and everybody in both of those stores, as well as the Saturday market and a couple other stores, everybody was wearing a mask. So hats off to Eugene or masks on to Eugene for doing all of that and making it safe for everybody to be out there. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about everybody else. So it's a considerate, compassionate thing to do. I was going to talk about the police commission, but Jennifer was first, and so she said what I was going to say. I just wanted to say that, as of like when we had the police commission last Thursday, we had like 85 people, so it ended up being well over 100 applications. So I think we're going to have a robust group to pick from. I think we have 5 openings left, so then they'll probably be tasked with going through some tedious policies, and I'm on the police commission, so I look forward to doing that, and the ones that Jennifer mentioned, probably put some other ones. So I look forward to doing that.
Great. Manager, did you have anything you wanted to add in the items of interest?
I considered raising my hand just to let everybody know that we added a work session on Wednesday that you may not have noticed on your tentative agenda. And it'll be Twyla and I giving you a financial update related to just kind of ongoing stressors we're seeing to some of the funds related to COVID. And we also want to talk about the PERS EIF payment before you go on your summer break, because I might need to make a decision about that while you're off. So more to come on that.
Okay, thank you. And I see that Councilor Syrett was waving her hand.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. So I wasn't gonna speak about masks, but since others did, I'll join that chorus. We've gotten some form emails asserting that it's an imposition on one's constitutional right to require you to wear a mask. I would like to know where in the constitutional law someone has found that to be a case. I do not believe there is any constitutional law around a public health measure. When you go into a store that says no shoes, no shirt, no service, do people wail about their constitutional right being imposed upon because of that requirement? No, it's a matter of hygiene. Wearing our masks is now a matter of hygiene when we are out in public around other people. It's not an imposition on personal liberty. It will help ensure that we all have the personal liberty not to be infected with a potentially virulent and deadly virus. So I'm glad our governor is erring on the side of caution. I also am very pleased and impressed with the compliance I see from people in stores that when I have to go to the store, I go to Fred Meyer on West 11th, pretty much everybody was wearing their mask the day after she imposed her order. So that's going to keep us safe, healthy, not impose on our hospital. Really, really important. So thanks for others for bringing that up. The reason I originally raised my hand was I just wanted to thank the mayor and the city manager for coming down to what happened to be my neighborhood, the Whitaker, at the request of the chair of the Whitaker Community Council and a liaison member of that council to take a walk through the neighborhood and see up close some of the challenges we have with illegal camping in particular, and also just the wonderful charm of our neighborhood. It's kind of quirky sensibility, and walk through some of our parks as well. So it was a really wonderful effort that you both made for our neighborhood, and I'm hoping that it will lead to further conversation around some of the strategies that the Whitaker Community Council wants to pilot for other neighborhoods in terms of micrositing and other things to provide more temporary shelters for people tucked away in some of the unused spaces that we have in neighborhoods. So you might be seeing something coming from the Whitaker Community Council along those lines sometime in the near future. So, but really, I just want to say thanks to the mayor and the city manager for coming down and walking around with us.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Councilor Semple, I still see your hand raised. Did you have another comment you needed to make?
I do. I just have two lighthearted things I think would be helpful. With masks, there was a sign on a store. I didn't see it. It was internet. It said, you must wear your mask. If you choose not to wear your mask, you must take off all your clothes, because at this store, it's mask or nothing. And the second one is on a tree that I walk by most days, and it said, there's two reasons for the spread of COVID-19. Number one, the density of the population. Number two, the density of the population. Thanks.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I will say, just to circle back on all of the comments you've made, I attended the HRC meeting, I attended the police commission meeting, and I walked in the Whitaker last week. And I think for all of the challenges that we face, we actually have such incredible momentum behind all of these critical issues. And it was an inspiring week last week. So I feel very optimistic in all realms. Good to see that many applicants for the police commission and hear their discussion. Great to hear the presentations at the HRC from the Black Lives Matter, and very inspiring to walk in the Whitaker, which is really prepared to step up and do some pretty interesting things to help us address homelessness. So, and thank you for advocating for masks, because this is the only way we're going to recover and come through this pandemic, is if we all get on board and wear our masks. So thank you all for all of that. And now, ready to move on to the consent calendar. Can I have a motion on the consent calendar?
I move to approve the items on consent calendar 1.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. 1, 2, 3,
Aye.
5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you very much. That passes. And with that, we can move on to the public forum. So I'll walk through the instructions here. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues, except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 2 minutes to speak. When it is your turn and your microphone has been unmuted, please state your name clearly, and for Eugene residents, your ward, if known, before beginning your comments. If you are watching the meeting, the timer should be visible. A yellow light will come on when you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light and beep indicate the end of 2 minutes. When your time has concluded, the moderator will mute your microphone and move on to the next speaker. For those who have connected to the meeting via phone and don't have the benefit of seeing the timer, please be aware that your microphone will be muted at the 2-minute mark, although usually we let you finish your sentence. Also, I don't know how many people have signed up today. I'm assuming it's robust. The public forum will be limited to 90 minutes total. So if the number of speakers approaches or exceeds the time we have allotted for the forum, we encourage you to consider abbreviating your remarks so that the maximum number of speakers can be heard. And with that, I will turn it over to Jessica, our moderator. And Jessica, how many speakers do we have signed up?
We have 33, so we will have a full forum.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Our first speaker is Gracie Schatz, followed by Jim New.
Hello, I know a number of you personally, and I just wanted to start by thanking you for your time and your work. I know some of these meetings have been very long, and I really am grateful for Councilor Ye, Councilor Surratt, Mayor Vinnis, and Councilor Evans for taking time to speak to me one-on-one. Councilor Ye recommended that I speak to Michael Kloos, the president of the police union. So I spoke with him for an hour this week. I asked him if he thought that the officer Tycol who had murdered Elaborio Rodriguez Jr. had been adequately held accountable. And he said yes, that Officer Tycol was just doing his job, enforcing the law, and that if Elaborio Rodriguez had just given him his ID, he would never have killed him if he had accepted a ticket. He didn't remember Elaborio Rodriguez's name either. I asked him if he thought there was racism in Eugene, and he said he didn't see it. I know that, Betty Taylor, you said you think that people are bringing a Minneapolis problem to Eugene. Part of my job as a writer for the Register Guard is I reach out to chefs and people in this community that are people of color, and I ask them their stories. And each conversation I have, I learn more about how poorly people in this town who are people of color are treated. I beg of all of you to take more time to get to know people in this community who aren't from the same place as you're from, who don't have the same opportunities that you have, who don't have the same color skin as you have, and see what is really here, which is a really tumultuous and racist underbelly. Councilor Semple, we were at the same Human Rights Commission meeting. I hope you have more to say about it than what you just said, which was that things were hard to hear. I heard some beautiful things, especially what Lindsay Hamilton from Blacks in Government said, which was to make good decisions, you just have to love people.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jim New, followed by Catherine Dunn. Jim, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mayor, council, and city manager, I hope you're all well and healthy tonight. Growing up in Chicago, I attended parochial schools until high school. The nuns were very convincing that settling for a 60% GPA was totally unsatisfactory, and if they couldn't convince you, your parents would. Perceiving a 60% grade point average as 40% shy of being a straight A student was inadequate and a plan to fail. Being satisfied with a 40% emissions gap in the city climate action plan is inadequate and a plan to fail. The city can and needs to do better. 305,000 megatons of CO2 shy of reaching the goals of the climate recovery ordinance sets a precedent to all that were involved in this 6-year process. City staff, sustainability commissioners, and the citizens of 2 mayor ad hoc committees that the council and mayor feel 40% shy of reaching the goal is adequate and acceptable. Council and city staff work is incomplete as you have not met the requirements of the ordinance you adopted in 2014 requiring community-wide 50% reduction of fossil fuel use by 2030. If adopted as written, you are settling for a D, a failing grade. The latest draft of the CAP 2.0 is a remarkable document at 399 pages. The graphics and charts illustrate the carbon and greenhouse gas emission messages, stating goals and actions, but the essential specific actions to reducing the gap are missing. Cartoon pictures of solar panels and wind generators, while not having listed actions to back the graphics, is a misperception to the uninformed reader. The city asked for community input and received it with 75 community vision suggested actions, but these were shelved to be decided at a further yet determined date. These should be vetted and selected before the final draft is adopted. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Catherine Dunn, followed by Ed McMahon.
Catherine Dunn, Ward 5. I want to thank the counselors who supported short-term rentals by not supporting licensing. I want to really thank Counselors Syret, Semple, Clark, Pryor, Ye, and thank you very much for listening and being reasonable in your assessment that licensing is not called for at this time. The registration process should be really simple and low cost to implement. The city already has a registration process in place through the finance department. The forms will need to be revised a bit, but the department already gives out a certificate to be displayed in STRs once they're registered. A new design would be nice. A fun new design would be great. To ensure registration provides the data we're all looking for, the city will just need to do three things, at least three things. Put cross-referencing mechanisms in place to track the data, ensure there are enough staff and police to handle and verify complaints, and inform the finance department staff that registration is required so that they'll stop turning people away. I want you to know that as a member of the Eugene Short-Term Rental Association, ESTRA, I extend an open invitation for city staff and council members to contact us if we can help in any way as you promote or implement this registration program. We want you to be effective. It would be good for all of us. Thank you again for making the right decision this evening.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker is Ed McMahon. We are going to need to move on to the next speaker, R.S. Self, while I set up Ed McMahon. Thank you.
I'm ready now.
R.S. Self, you're good to go.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. This is Richard Self, Ward 1, Forever Ward 9. As per the governor and the Oregon Health Association in their most recent briefings, this pandemic is far from over. Yet despite that declaration and evidence, despite the Boise decision, and despite CDC guidelines that remain unchanged for the homeless, this city has reverted back to citing, ticketing, and sweeping encampments with impunity and removing the sanitation stations. All since June 5th, when the respite shelters were closed, and there is now going to be a drive-in movie there. All this sounds and smells like a clear message from the city. The unhoused are expendable. Because the sweeps, it's just a little bit hard to find somebody to test. With the shelters over capacity, as the head of St. Vincent de Paul just put on Facebook today, there's nowhere to go. The city is setting itself up for failure with the eviction moratorium. When the eviction moratorium ends, and there's an outbreak in the unhoused community, all preventative measures will be for nothing, and the last lockdown will look like the good old days. I submit the remedy for this is to reopen the respite shelters and put back the sanitation stations and let the drive-in be put on hold. I further advise an immediate moratorium on sweeps and CDC guidelines be followed. I finally request that an immediate work session on Lori Haber's recommendations be held immediately to further the underway with police reform.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Ed McMahon, followed by Annie.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to address the council on a very pressing matter for our community. I'm not a city council nor an elected official, and I have a deep respect for the work you do. However, I know that good governance comes from well-informed policy that considers all the relevant facts to achieve a common good for our city. The concept of banning a critical energy resource that has served our community for 65 years without the necessary information and without a robust stockholder process is not good governance. The stated intent of this measure is to reduce carbon emissions. That's a goal we agree on. It's the right thing to do. How we do that is a complicated question that requires expertise and an extensive stakeholder process. The city hasn't even scratched the surface on what is necessary to fulfill that need. Now, make no mistake, this would hurt the home building in Eugene, but my industry is not unique in that way. Access to natural gas is more than just consumer preference. It's truly the fuel that drives a variety of industries in our region. We're left with more questions than anything. At this point, we're not even sure how much additional electricity load the electricity system can take on. We clearly do not have enough information at this point to be making well-informed policy decisions. Shooting from the hip on a community shifting policy is not good governance. I urge the council to start with a fair, more transparent, and collaborative process so we can evaluate ways to reduce our carbon footprint. And thank you for your service. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Annie, followed by Leah Carnine.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. Hi, I'm a resident of Eugene. Firstly, I'd like to say as a Jewish person, I was surprised we were still doing the Christian hegemony, one nation under God thing, but here we are. Anyway, I'd like to speak to a question you're considering in your budget. I'm sure by now you're familiar with the list of various approaches to policing and community well-being and how this task could be better handled by a mental health professional, this could be better handled by a nurse, maybe by simply letting a person freaking sleep. I'm sure like probably everyone commenting or listening to this right now, you're freaking in love with our revolutionary program Cahoots. And so is Chief Skinner, and you also seem to be in love with Chief Skinner, and that's a problem. Just because some cops like Cahoots, just because some cops don't like doing sweeps, just because some cops are blocking intersections to let protests go through, this does not change the fact that there is nothing a cop can do or refrain from doing that negates the fact that their job is to uphold a system of racist and classist laws that protects them from consequences for their abuses of power. And their existence is an abuse of power by definition. Police exist to enforce laws that have been decided by people with power, people with money, people who could afford getting elected in an election that disenfranchised most voters that was probably rigged. Congratulations, you all have been elected into the ruling class. Police are not public safety, they are law enforcement. If you want the public to be safe, divest from police and invest in actual public safety and well-being. Lastly, in case you thought there was hope for police with reforms, I'd like to list some reforms that have already been tried and that have not worked. Firing bad staff and rehiring, keeping track of misconduct and not rehiring those ones, mindfulness practice, implicit bias training, putting cops in cars, putting cops on foot, putting cops on bikes, having cops police the neighborhoods where they live, adopting less lethal alternatives, hiring more women, hiring more people of color, wearing body cams, having civilian review boards, using sexy data crunching techniques and making graphs. Oh, sorry, I should stop, huh? I have like.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Leah Carnine, followed by Keith.
Hi there. My name's Leah Carnine, and I am a medical provider here in Eugene, recently moved back. And I wanted to also speak to the budget, and I'm grateful that you all scheduled a special work session on the Community Safety Initiative in response to the outpouring of public pressure on the city when you approved the budget for starting in July without any changes, despite the public outcry in support of defunding the police. And so to speak to that, as a medical provider specifically, I feel like it's my responsibility as someone who cares for marginalized and vulnerable communities to really urge you to reallocate funds in the current proposed community safety initiative budget away from EPD and towards programs that create true safety. I understand that the CSI was created in response to increasing concerns about community safety in Eugene. And as it stands, 80% of the payroll tax slated to begin in January is expected to go majority to policing and or to detention, while only 20% of that would be allotted to supporting unhoused people, prevention and emergency services, and none of that going to the incredible program of Cahoots that we have here, or other programs that create true safety. And so I want to say that policing just really doesn't keep us safe, and urge you as our city leaders to be creative and visionary and bold in this time to really take steps towards creating true community safety. And in order to do that, the money and the resources must stop going to systems of control and power, such as policing, and must go to programs that actually keep people safe. And I'm speaking for so many of my patients who bear the brunt of systemic oppression and policing. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I apologize, I made an error. Our next speaker is Linda Heil, followed by Keith.
Linda Heil, Ward 2. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. As a member of the CAP Ad Hoc Committee, I would like to respond to comments I heard during the July 8th work session. Did the ad hoc process allow me to feel heard? Yes, in that it gave a better chance for substantive input. Did I leave satisfied and with my expectations met? No. At the first meeting, members expressed concern that the process would not produce a plan with sufficient carbon reduction commitments. The question has always been, will Eugene have a plan designed to reach its CRO goals? It will not. Because not enough commitments have been made, a 40% planning gap still remains to the local emissions goal. Does the new draft reflect community concerns? During the work session, I heard that community input is integrated into the plan, included in the plan. Included, yes. You'll find the survey ideas listed there, but community input has not been integrated. None of it has been committed to. It is left hanging without even a timeline for its review. In fact, look at most of the council's 12 strategies in Appendix 6 that are framed "the city could," quote unquote, they are not committed to either. This 4-month process has given a solid picture of community expectations. What's crucial is how that input is used. Council, you can add needed commitments during these last work sessions before you approve the plan. The plan still needs a framework for reducing emissions from gas use and stronger actions for consumption, community-based solar generation and storage, and for mental health, public health, and personal resiliency skills. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Keith, followed by Peter Johnson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Keith Wahlberg, and I live in South Eugene. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and the subject is the unhoused. I will add my comments to those already spoken. It takes a lot for me to speak up publicly, so that this issue has been bothering me for a long time, way before COVID. I ride my bike around Eugene and along the river. I notice the growing number of tent camps, and people sleeping or crashed out in the streets or in the parks. The question that comes to mind is the city, why aren't they taking more steps to address this growing crisis? It's not going to go away, fix itself, and it appears to be growing. Here's what I see. A lot of building, Hayward Field, the expansion of 5th Street Market, the Riverwalk, and I know plans to redo the park blocks in City Hall. I see a lot of housing being built. Here's what I don't see. I don't see plans to build housing for the unhoused, which include the services for mental illness, drug abuse and alcoholism, with job counseling and training, and the other social services to help those who are ready to begin the journey back to a healthy and productive life. I don't see ads for new social workers, drug and alcohol counselors, and 50 mental illness professionals. I've heard the city doesn't have any money. Let's consider the costs of not acting. What's the cost to the fire, police, hospital, and city workers in dealing with drug overdoses, constant crime and violence? The costs of cleaning up the camps, the garbage, the parks, and the city structures? The cost of lost revenue to the downtown businesses and to the city from the suffocation of downtown businesses when people do not want to or feel safe coming downtown, especially at night. Here's what I'm not talking about. I'm not suggesting going to the city limits and asking that unhoused to leave. I'm talking about beginning the hard work of addressing the underlying problems that sustain homelessness. Thank you for listening and for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Peter Johnson, followed by Zondi. Peter, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Peter Johnson, Ward 1. And I'm like to speak to you because I believe that the funds of the city budget should be more equally distributed to social services, addressing homelessness, healthcare, and expanding CAHOOTS. And if this means taking money from the EPD or other places, I am all for that. And also, I would like to mention that there is a 11-city coalition that's being spearheaded by the mayor of Stockton, California, for setting up pilot programs for universal basic income, which gives monthly unconditional financial payments to low-income people. And I believe that this is something that Eugene can adopt to address the income disparity of people in Eugene, as well as helping people getting back on their feet facing homelessness. Their website is mayorsforagi.org. And lastly, I would like to ask the council, what has happened to the police review of the use of force incidents during the curfew? I want to know, have they been completed? And if so, what were the results? Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Zondi, followed by a caller with number ending in 192.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, I hope you will take very seriously that all of the local Black Lives Matter groups are demanding, in fact, putting their lives on the line to demand that you defund EPD. Defunding is distinct from reform, and it is not to be dismissed. So far, all I've heard is some boasting about how Eugene is pretty far along on reform, meeting most 8 can't wait demands, a contestable point. You must contend with this. Even the authors of 8 can't wait now defer to abolition. In fact, if you visit their website, you will find that they, quote, wholeheartedly and without reservation apologize for the ways in which the 8 can't wait demands detract from a focus on abolition. They ask viewers to visit the 8 to abolition demands, of which defunding local police departments is prime. Please tell Chief Skinner to stop trying to say that the problems out there are not a problem here. He does not get to define the starting point. How dare he? Get real about where you are. 8 out of 9 of you are white leaders in a historic moment with historic possibility for profound change by which we might have a better, safer world. I'm sure it is scary to be in leadership positions and open the doors for deep and meaningful change. The mantra of status quo power is that change is always incremental. Please be an active anti-racist. Open yourselves to the visionaries, transformative and racial justice experts, precisely what you are not, what Chief Skinner is not, what any status quo stakeholders, Chamber of Commerce included, are not. I promise you that people who have committed themselves to transformative justice, in this case to abolition, are deeply wise and broadly caring people.
Thank you. Our next speaker is on the phone with number ending in 192, followed by Jen Smith.
Hello, Mayor Vinnis and City Councilors. My name is Nina Oliveira. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for this RNG Coalition. We advocate for the sustainable development, deployment, and utilization of renewable natural gas so that present and future generations will have access to domestic, renewable, clean fuel and energy. I'm here this evening in support of the City of Eugene's efforts around combating climate change and creating the CAP 2.0. This is a comprehensive document that provides the city with a detailed roadmap to drive down emissions. We believe that the City of Eugene has an incredible opportunity to use renewable natural gas to leverage the existing natural gas distribution system to lower the carbon emissions of the gas delivered to Eugene residents through the capture and utilization of fugitive methane emissions from sites like wastewater treatment plants and landfills. This is a true win-win for the environment. I was pleased to see that the CAP 2.0 reflected many opportunities around RNG, including a regional wastewater treatment plan, the MWMC, to build a biogas facility to capture renewable natural gas and connect to the utility grid. There's a vast amount of RNG production coming online in the West and across the United States. I'd encourage you to visit our website to see our database of RNG production facilities, both those currently in use and others under development. As the mayor stated in her introductory letter, achieving these goals will require working with community partners to find new ways to innovate. Leveraging the opportunity to use RNG is one of those key initiatives. We look forward to partnering with you. Thank you for your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jen Smith, followed by Deb McGee.
Hello, my name is Jen Smith, and I'm a senior software architect at Concentric Sky Software. Tonight, I'm speaking for myself as an individual and not on the behalf of my employer. The Eugene Police Department's long history of brutality, rape, abuse, and killing of its most vulnerable Black, Latinx, Indigenous, and other people of color, LGBTQIA people, women, and unhoused people indicates a need to divert funding from an institution that clearly protects and values the property rights of the privileged over the lives of the poor and marginalized. The Eugene Police Department's irresponsible and dangerous use of military-grade weapons and riot gear against largely peaceful protesters over the past 3 decades indicates a need to immediately divert funding for these militarized toys from them. I appreciated hearing the Bill of Rights read today. The Eugene Police Department's poor judgment in the case of declaration of a riot and unlawful assembly for minor property damage recently has resulted in the violation of First Amendment rights to protest for redress of wrongs. This indicates the need for civil rights consultation while developing policing policy and a citizen oversight board that does not report to the police department and has some real teeth. The Eugene Police Department's recent statements at the police commissioners meeting that last week they were not sweeping homeless camps unless, quote, crime occurs, indicates that they believe that the poor and unhoused cleared from the Washington Jefferson Park were apparently all committing crimes beyond the crime of being poor and sheltering in place, breaking camping regulations during a pandemic. I demand all camping ordinance violation sweeps are halted, and that EPD no longer respond to any violent crime complaints.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Deb McGee, followed by Gail Morano Brown. Deb, are you with us? Okay, we will move on to Gail. Gail, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my name's Gail Morano Brown, and I'm here with my husband, Sherwood.
Hello.
We have a short-term rental in Eugene in Ward 1, and it's called Rhapsody in Blue. It's a pristine running Airbnb with 5-star reviews for the past 2.5 years. And although we do not live in Eugene, Lisa Teal, who lives in town, is our impeccable co-manager and gardener, and she hires and oversees our housekeepers, and in fact was our housekeeper for a year beforehand. She also hires and oversees all the handymen and the plumbers, electricians, painters, and other contracted workers who keep our home in wonderful shape. Our house is actually surrounded by long-term rentals. I think we might be the only Airbnb, I'm not sure, but between 10th and 11th. And it's one of the nicest homes. I mean, of course, that's my bias. But anyway, I'm here in alignment with all the other STR owners and hosts who are asking just for registration and not licensing, and also not asking for guests' personal information, which seems to be an infringement of their privacy. We're also thanking you ahead of time for grandfathering us in. If you decide that you're going to close down some of those Airbnbs that where the owners live out of town or out of state. I also wanted to thank Councilor Semple for responding positively to my communication back in January. I had explained to her in writing that our intention is just really for hospitality for our guests and also to allow ourselves to come up there, which we do several times a year. We're actually losing money every year and with the hopes of sometime breaking even, but our workers are making money and they live in Eugene, and many of the taxes that the guests are bringing in, of course, are going to Eugene. So anyway, thank you for all your hard work and for your consideration.
Thank you. Deb McGee, are you able to join us? Okay, we're going to move on to Sam Shaw while I continue to troubleshoot that. Sam, are you with us? Okay, that doesn't seem to be working either. Patricia, are you able to speak with us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, who are we speaking to?
This is Patricia Moore.
Thank you.
So this is Patricia Moore. I'm with the Global Vacation Rental Association. And I want to thank the mayor and all the council for giving us the Can you still hear me? Hello?
We can now. You cut out for a minute.
Okay. I don't know. I saw it on my screen too, so I just wasn't sure. Sorry about that. So anyway, I just want to make sure I especially thank the mayor and the council of Eugene for listening to so many of your citizens and really looking into the information that's been provided to you by the hosts in your area. The hosts in Eugene are a very wonderful group that have formed ESTRA specifically to support the hosts along with all the local businesses that they support. ESTRA is actively engaged in their personal communities, and they really do want what is best for Eugene. They are very much in alignment with the town. With that said, I would suggest 3 things. Going forward, just go ahead and register the hosts, and it sounds like from your working session that you would agree with that, and we appreciate that. Additionally, I would ask that you keep the hosts involved in Eugene going forward to help with designing the application or any other concerns that you have going forward in the city. And the last thing that I would say is put a tracking mechanism in place to really capture the data that you're interested in looking at. And I think that you will really find it will positively answer many of the questions that you have. The ESTRA members are more than willing to work with Eugene now and really do want to be included going forward as the decisions are made. We are here to help you as well. We really represent short-term rental hosts worldwide, and we really do want to partner together with you and with ESTRA. If you have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you very
much. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Deb McGee, I want to let you know that we don't see that you have audio connected to join us. If you would like to disconnect and reconnect, I will watch for you and bring you back into the queue. Our next speaker is Sam Shaw, followed by Genevieve Shack. It seems that Sam has fallen out of the queue. I'm sorry, whoever's speaking, if you could please mute yourselves. Genevieve Shack, are you with us?
I am. You can hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Well, I thank you for your service. I'm dismayed when I hear things in this forum like, I won't give you the numbers since no one will care. Without the council helping to provide transparency to those numbers for us lay folks, we are left with no choice but to be pacified by endeavors with names like Community Safety Initiative. While your three approaches listed in large font on your website about the CSI, which are prevent, respond, resolve, all sound like noble causes, they can mean very little if you do not change your methods. Unfortunately, the council refuses to actually pursue these lofty goals. Under the current initiative, police and prosecutorial, you got it, courts receive
renewable natural gas.
65% of the, someone's talking over me, 65% of the allocated funds. Homeless services receive less than 15%, and youth prevention services only 1.5%, a mere $130,000. That is obscene. I feel like even the most narrow-minded of people realize that early intervention leads to better outcomes. More money to police hurts children and families by criminalizing them instead of caring for them. We've seen the symptoms everywhere in Eugene: addiction, houselessness, inequity. 18 more police officers will not solve this. This initiative just exacerbates the disparity that exists in the operating budget. How are we supposed to trust that you are listening to our concerns? A 7% increase in police funding overall is in direct opposition to what many have asked for. It ignores the national recognition of our successful Cahoots program and the desperate cries for increasing those services by the local community. Instead, we have the Safety Initiative, which is the kind of thing councils pat themselves on the back for, but it is lip service when you clearly ignore everything else we have asked. As bills and measures get proposed, they seem to get watered down just as quickly. This is not reform. It is maintaining the status quo. It is a reflection that this system is too sick to be healed through bureaucratic measures. People's lives are being ruined. People are dying. All while we are...
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Catherine Williams, followed by Douglas Bovey.
City Council, Mayor Vinnis, can you hear me?
Yes,
great. Thank you. Sorry about that. My name is Catherine Williams. I'm the Vice President of Public Affairs and Sustainability at Northwest Natural. Our Eugene Service Center is located in Ward 5. Congratulations on reaching the milestone of the CAP 2.0. My comments will be brief. Northwest Natural spearheaded and passed aggressive new renewables policy in Oregon. It's kicking off this month with the finalization of the rulemaking. We've created a dedicated renewables team at the utility and have been studying and researching Europe's technological progress. We are committed to pursuing a carbon neutral pipeline by 2050. There is no technical barrier to achieving this, and we embrace challenges that come with that change. We are impressed by Eugene's leadership, as noted in the plan. Eugene has a major renewable natural gas project underway and potential precedent-setting renewable hydrogen project in the making. Thanks to customer interest and a home-based team, Eugene leads in our smart energy offset program with residential participation at 23% compared to 7% participation regionally. Finally, with about 44% of Eugene Springfield gas customers being low to moderate income, the plan recognizes that climate work needs to happen in a way that protects these residents using tools like bill assistance, our recently increased funding for low-income weatherization, and more. There is a lot in the CAP 2.0 to be supportive of, and we look forward to continued partnership. Northwest Natural does note with some concern that the plan references gas bans that take away choice. We encourage the people of Eugene to think about energy differently. When there was recognition that we as a society needed to decarbonize the electric grid, we didn't cut down the wires. We began the process of changing what was going over them. We can do and are doing the same with our pipes. We believe that together we can leverage gas infrastructure to reach our collective climate goals. We encourage your input and further research, and please email us at publicaffairs-po@nwnatural.com for input. Thank you for your time tonight.
Next speaker is Douglas Bovey, followed by Deb McGee.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Can.
Good. Hi, I'm Douglas Bovey from Ward 1. I'm chair of the board of community supported shelters, and I'm speaking about homelessness, unhoused people, and the trials and tribulations. I'm also medical director of the Lane County Medication Assistance Program. I'd like to echo briefly what Richard said earlier. We continue to have a major problem with lack of shelter, and many people in our community are unhoused. And some of the people struggling to get by in a tent are being constantly moved off a location without really doing anything wrong. They're just trying to get along, like what recently happened in Westmoreland Park, north of 18th Avenue, next to Albertsons. We need to stop these sweeps. Where are these people going to go? So that's the title of what has been sent to you folks. City of Eugene Homeless Services Immediate Policy Recommendations. There are 4 clear recommendations written out by Lori Halber, endorsed and supported by numerous people and organizations, including yours truly. I would strongly encourage you to review them and set them into statute if need be, but in any event, formalize them and institute them so that they're actively working now or as soon as possible. Also, related to that, we need many microsites or pocket camps around town. And there are a lot of our parks are minimally used currently, like that site, like the north of 18th Avenue, Westmoreland Park. It's a huge open field that's basically never used until people were camping there. And then they got moved off. It was brutal. I wasn't there, but I understand it was brutal. Okay, thank you very much.
Next, we have Deb McGee, followed by an unnamed caller.
Is the audio working?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your patience.
Yay, Deb.
We all get tired of climate folks saying things the same, so I wrote a raptimony trying to tickle the other side of your brain. Eugene's climate CAP. I know, I did call it CRAP crap. Respect and appreciation for the 6 months extension time. I guess you did your best, but it really isn't fine. Moving things around maybe 2 or 5 degrees when 180 turnaround is what the climate needs. The gap is too big, the failure too tall. Climate action slows down, but climate collapse won't stall. The climate recovery ordinance set noble goals, and the climate reduction targets meant we all had to fulfill our roles. You electeds, overexpected and underpaid. We, the stalwart climate community, with pressure well made, tried to move you to righteous, bold climate action, made assessments, recommendations, hours and hours spent with little satisfaction. Climate justice is racial justice. We all know the deal. BIPOC communities get pollution and toxins. You know that's real. The biggest deal we all know is the gas. To extend the destruction and take such a pass on doing the true thing, the right thing to do, stop the gas in our community. Let electricity and solar shine through. You say you support the CRO, but if you give Eugene more gas, you will be guilty of letting CRO goals go. When the people are woke to the truth of the situation, we will all pull together in our amazing diversification. Public will bring on the pressure to cause the relief from our capitalistic destruction to a new loving belief that we live in a community where connection and care is the focus, where we all matter, no humans are homeless. Times are truly strange, but the message seems clear. Time for humans to get our heads out of our rears. No more fracked gas. Let's meet the CRO goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is unnamed, followed by Marianne Senhouse.
Yeah, hello, this is Braden from Ward 7. I think it was particularly apropos that the meeting begun with reading from the Bill of Rights, a very inclusive and broad sounding document that was massively not so in actuality. I think that the way that we generally look at it now is that the concepts put forward in it were correct and that we were wrong at the time. But this sort of revisionist history just ignores the actual facts of how concepts and power change throughout time, much in the same way that the police were founded to maintain a white supremacist system and to enforce that level of power and dehumanization of other people. And the idea that it has ever grown out of that or could do that seems, again, a revision of history that I think is unacceptable. I think that it's very important when thinking about these issues that we consider how we define who is human and how they get to act human within our community. So, for instance, in ways with the sweeps and removing homeless people from land that I cannot think of a possible better use for than providing housing for people who don't otherwise have it, that removing that link of those people to the land itself is dehumanizing to those people. That in trying to ignore the voices of people in the community who are BIPOC who have spoken to the violence and racism that's occurred to them, to say that they're not problems within our community is to diminish their voices and dehumanize them in that way. And I thought it was particularly interesting that looking at the only internal affairs report that's currently available on the Eugene website, in 2018, the vast preponderance of use of force was based off of someone fleeing or resisting arrest, neither of which are really crimes in any way other than being inconvenient to a police officer. And if we're sending people to the hospital every 10 days due to an interaction with police, it just begs my question of like how we are considering people human in this community.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Marianne Senhouse, followed by Matthew Yook.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Awesome. Marianne Senhouse, Ward 8. I ask you to consider increasing the training for EPD in the following areas: communication, diversity, bias. These are important, especially as officers have lots of contact with the community. This type of training will help shift the culture of the police force. I think 1 hour a month is a reasonable frequency, and the popularity of Zoom and Microsoft Teams would help because it doesn't involve travel, it doesn't incur any excessive costs to the city. I understand that there are other requests from the community. Some are unimaginable, some are beyond the city's budget. However, I think at least this kind of online training can give the maximum impact for minimum cost. And on a different note, I would like you to separate the Eugene Police Department's forensic laboratory from the police department to sever the tie between them. A study undertaken by the National Academy of Sciences spent 2 years investigating the state of forensic science in America and came to the conclusion that crime labs should be independent of law enforcement agencies, as scientists who who work for the police are prone to subtle contextual bias. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matthew Yook, followed by Tyler Stewart.
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Righteous. My name is Matthew Yook. I am a resident of Ward 4. There's been a lot of interesting discussions tonight pertaining to things I was not preparing to speak to. I definitely believe that diverting what money we have flexible, as was discussed about with some library funding discussions, from EPD to the places where we can actually help heal and prevent interactions with police that are armed, that cause a conditioned response depending upon where you are in your relation to them, right? As some folk have mentioned, they love police. They're a reassuring force in their life. I have called the police and they have helped me out for sure. The fact that there's other things that they perpetrate just by their presence is something that is coming up into discussion more. Leading with the heart, I think, is very important now, especially as we look at CAP 2.0 and refined natural gas. I mean, egads, y'all. We can't put more pipelines through marginalized and oppressed communities to create more carbon footprint and say that we're giving options, because the thing is, it's cheaper because it's already subsidized. So it creates only options for folks that can afford to have that piping to their house. And so it just creates another way where we subsidize things that are exclusionary and that are really carbon polluting. And you as a city and a municipality have the resources and capital available to lead and pioneer new ways to deal with neighborhood blocks, to deal with other chunks of land. And short-term rentals, y'all, oh my gosh, that's so bad. Like, great, you're hiring cleaners. You're not job creators. Looking at the 841 someone mentioned for 750 TAC. More information, please. Federal, this needs to be
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Tyler Stewart, followed by Christina Lang.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, this is Tyler Stewart in Ward 1. I'm learning more and hearing story after story of injustice in our community. It's clear to me our systems in our city are unjust to people of color and the poor, and they must be reconstructed. There were serious human rights allegations aired against the police at the last HRC meeting. This is news to me. Recently, the city used the police to evict unhoused people from Washington Jefferson Park in the area near the old armory. This is a moral crime by our city government. We need housing for the poor. The city also recently threatened to penalize a Good Samaritan for trying to give two unhoused folks a safe place to be in their yard. Our policing and judicial systems need complete reconstruction to bring true life and restoration. But the systems that direct the police, our unjust laws, need reconstruction. Our tax dollars need to be spent in ways that bring real life to our city and thriving to the oppressed. We have to see beyond the fake progressive veneer in our community. We have to see what is unjust in our community and address it expeditiously and over the long haul. We have to see it all to fix it all. We cannot be patient and wait for the white moderate, which is where I used to be, to come around. People are suffering under the heavy hand of injustice. We need to plant seeds of racial and economic justice right now. We cannot accept minor reforms to our city. Our city's leaders and the citizens need the moral courage to step out and do what is morally right for the oppressed in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christina Lang, followed by a caller with phone number ending in 327.
Hi, my name is Christina Lang. If you look at the ward map, I live in the middle finger part of Ward 2. No reflection on my amazing neighborhood. First, I want to thank you for your service on the council and thank you for the motion to require registration rather than licensing for short-term rentals. I appreciate the discussion you had tonight. Everyone, including short-term rental hosts, want strong neighborhoods and respectful neighbors. There was talk about registration being a one-time event. Why not model it after the existing long-term rental registration, which requires annual registration with a fee and updated contact information? Lastly, thanks to Councillor Semple, I heart to put a STR Eugene sticker on the front door of the one that I host. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is a call-in with phone number ending in 327, followed by Penny Smith Loven.
Hi, this is William Smith from Ward 1. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Well, I was planning on talking or focusing on wireless safety as I have for a number of months. And I was moved by the earlier focus on the Bill of Rights. And I know law was mentioned at least once. And the wider context of lawmaking, deliberative lawmaking by legislative bodies, seems to have been built into our Constitution to prevent tyranny. And I am concerned that that has not been done, not only with the wireless safety issue. There hasn't been at the national or state level a deliberative process weighing such a momentous issue that affects health and safety of so many, including myself. And now I'm worried that this is also happening with the pandemic, so-called. And I have had asbestos poisoning, and breathing is a challenge for me. And I've watched and waited and have seen no deliberative process at the state level or the local level, certainly not the national level. Yes, executive orders, but no legislative, lawmaking, deliberative process. And I'm very deeply concerned about that. And I think I will end there for now. Thank you for listening. And I hope you'll consider what I just said deeply.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Anthony Smith Loven, followed by Sarah Astra.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I just wanted to commend, I wanted a chance to come in and just commend at Slander Park or whatever, Sladden Park. I was there for the Black Unity movie in the park, and everybody was 6 feet apart. Everybody's wearing masks, and their organizers did a great job on that event. And I think they should deserve a little bit of consideration for all the hard work that they put in to make these events safe and fully follow the COVID restrictions. And they did a great job at that. It was one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had. These young leaders are doing a great job at keeping the peace and doing the protests in a way that is productive. And I just think they deserve that consideration. Also, I just wanted to bring up one small other thing in Eugene. I've noticed that around downtown Broadway and Olive, very well-known place in Eugene, the drinking and smoking herb and so forth out in public. I hate to point out that it's homeless, because that would be like more like targeting, but that is kind of where it's at. Individuals that's coming to town, maybe thinking that there was going to be a fair this year and it's not, put a lot of these businesses with licenses at risk. And I would hope that there's a way to enforce just from a genuine level to stop the drinking and the using the drugs on the street corners. I don't know which way that would be, but I feel like your team would be able to figure out a way to help that stop so that there's no effect to these licenses downtown, because they try their best on that corner, everybody that works down there, to make that stop. And it's a lot of work for those people to also to just do their regular day jobs. Thank you so much for my time to speak.
Our next speaker is Sarah Astra, followed by Sam Shaw.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Sarah Astra, Ward 4. So if you hear the phrases defund the police, abolish the police, and you think that concept begins and ends with the police, then quite frankly, you haven't been listening. It's time you genuinely engage with these ideas. Abolition is not simply about dismantling the police, and abolition is not about destruction. At its core, abolition is about creation, creating a society that takes care of each other, that truly sees the humanity in one another. We already know Cahoots serves as an effective alternative to the police. Imagine thinking about all the other situations where we could replace the police with people better suited, better equipped to deal with what's going on. To borrow phrasing from Amber Hewson, some folks are sleeping on benches in a park. Imagine a city employee comes by and checks in to see if they need a place to sleep, food, water, healthcare. An hour later, those who want a different place to sleep have one. Those who don't are left alone. Isn't that public safety? Your brake lights aren't working. Imagine an unarmed city employee signals for you to pull over and says, how about I replace those lights for you? An hour later, your lights work and you're at home. Isn't that public safety? So imagine how far you can take this. Imagine all the ways we could better take care of one another. Imagine investing in people and programs that don't have the opportunity to extrajudicially kill people. You may feel our demands are fueled by a hatred of the police, but in reality, they come from a love for each other. So I demand you see and respect the humanity in all people of Eugene. I demand you stop the sweeps. I demand you defund EPD, and I demand you invest in your community. Thank you.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask a question of Sam Shaw before we begin testimony. Sam, I believe you were a person that we had to skip over earlier in the queue. And so I came back to you to see if this is the case.
Yeah, can y'all hear me now? Excellent, thank y'all. So I would first like to ask you to fully fund Cahoots. They are essential to our community, and only by fully funding Cahoots will we know like the full potential of this kind of program and be able to be a better model for like the rest of our country and all the other communities that want to adopt these sorts of models. So to be as far as us being leaders, I think it's really important that we do something like that, and for everyone in our community. Also, I want you to vote to move star voting to the November ballot. We had addressed the question of cost for you, which you now know is much cheaper than you had once thought. We addressed the fact that the city will not need new voting machines. We addressed the fact that we would help you with the public outreach and the education. And you know in your hearts that star voting deserves to be on the ballot. We had collected enough signatures, but only due to the errors in the counting were we denied. So it is up to you now to do the right thing. If you choose to take the stance of not honoring our efforts, it would be an ugly mark on our community's political process. And if you go ahead and move it to the ballot, you could be championing the people. Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes the public forum. Everyone that signed up before the deadline to close.
Thank you very much, Jessica. That was well orchestrated and a really interesting and diverse set of opinions that were expressed. Let's see, I have to go back to panelists here. Are there counselors who wish to respond? I have Counselor Syret and then Counselor Ye.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jessica, for managing our public forum for us. I really appreciate your work on a tricky technical platform. And thank you, everyone who took the time to speak. I only have comments directed at a couple of things. So one of our speakers, several speakers spoke about the situation with homeless folks and the things that we're doing around camps, but someone said, you know, we're not doing anything.
Hello?
And,
Can you hear me?
we hear that frequently. So I wanted to list some of the things we're doing. We do have a plan and are in the process of implementing it. We now have outreach workers that we share with the county who are going out to folks where they are to connect with them, to try to connect them with services. We do not have enough shelter beds right now, so that is a big deficit. But the city is currently seeking microsites, places that we can house people in temporary emergency shelter. We also have hired, in conjunction with the county, a strategic housing manager whose job it is to help us find a location for our low barrier public shelter, as well as to help us site and develop permanent supportive housing units that we need. And we have a work session scheduled on July 27th to work on our allocation of community development block grants, which are grants that come from the federal government that allow us to help house people. And also our affordable housing fund, which is a flexible housing fund we have that we will likely use to help people. I anticipate some of what we'll use that for is to prevent people from becoming homeless because they cannot pay their mortgage or rent. So these are things that are not as visible as the tents and the homeless camps that you ride by on your bike. So I wanted to call them out and share with you. There's a lot to be done. These things, you know, still need to be done. That doesn't address the acute right now problem that we're having. But it's not because we're not trying. We are trying to address this issue. I did have a question for the city manager. I don't know if you'll have this handy, but one of the people who spoke asked us about the status of the police auditor's review of the complaints that were filed in the wake of the curfews. And I didn't know if you know where that is in process. I know it hasn't been released yet. You got to unmute, Sarah.
God, no matter how many times. I believe the most recent communication I saw from Mark talked about how they're still taking in a lot of information and working through that. I've met with them once to talk through some of the elements of that, and it's going to be a pretty long effort of looking at that as sort of a community impact.
Okay, great. And I know my time's up, but I just want to say we will publicize that when it's published. So it won't like come out and nobody will know. It will get publicity. Thank you.
Councilor Ye.
Yeah, thanks. So Sarah, thanks Councilor Surratt for listing all those things that we're doing. I think it's important, and we often don't do a good job of getting that information out there. One of the folks had some concerns about the sanitation stations that we were providing. I was wondering, can you give us a quick update about where we are with that right now?
Yeah, so the last update I think we did with City Council, and we're planning on trying to get Chief Heppel in to do another update before you go on break, was that we were starting to, as we moved into phase 2, we were starting to take down some of those, but we were doing it based on data from what we were seeing and what was getting used, and leaving them where we had the most dense camping sites and needs for washing. So that's been kind of, and we took them down outside of the places where we opened up bathrooms. But if people are out there finding specific areas, we can still take that in and look to place more if we need to.
Okay, yeah, I think, yeah, we're in phase 2, but I think we've recognized that our community starting to slip backwards in our infection rate. And so if you need, I mean, I know you have access to funds for that right now, but if you need more funds, or if you need, direction from us on that, I hope you would bring that back, because I think we're all very supportive of those efforts that we're doing in the community. That's it. Thank you so much.
Councilor Semple.
Thank you so very much. And thank you to everyone who came.
First, I want to say to Gracie Schatz, thank you for coming. I did not mean to say that I didn't hear or respect all the comments. I am. We do hear you, and I will tell you that we can't see you. I'm hoping that we will get a video for these forums, but we are really just looking at a black rectangle. So if my facial communication isn't matching yours, it's because I can't see you. And I do want to know people. That's what I'm most proud of, is that I if you ask me to meet, I will. I want to know people. I want to know the issues. That's how we get to the most equitable decisions. And I do love people, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this job. A couple of small things with the STRs. Unfortunately, our visitors do not bring tax money to this town because we have no sales tax. And for the star voting, wouldn't change our costs for voting machines. We vote by mail. So just two little facts there. The budget. It was a horrible mess of people wanting something right away. And the budget had to be passed by June 30th, or July 1st, we would have had no fire department. No fire department, no permitting, street sweepers, pools, library, or salaries or wages would all stop. But the thing that we don't realize sometimes is that we can change it, but we have to pass it first. So because we passed it, it didn't mean that we didn't hear you or aren't going to do things. And it will never be fast enough for you, but we are trying. We can move money around in the safety initiative. The general fund is totally discretionary. We offered Cahoots more money the last 2 years and they declined it. So it's very frustrating. And yes, I want many more social organizations such as Cahoots. And I want us to pay attention to working upstream rather than how do we respond? How do we stop the problems? The first thing I've always wanted is mental health treatment and drug addiction treatment. Both of those things come under the county, and we need to work together because those are critically important. We need to let people sleep. I'm going to go over just a couple seconds. I really want to have a campgrounds, the little pull out, the picnic table, the central bathrooms, a camp host that we pay 20 people. I think that would be great. And we have to stop waking people up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other counselors with something they want to add? I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who testified today. And I do want to thank Counselor Syrette also for her list and Counselor Semple. But there actually, we also have coming up, the City Council has a joint meeting with the County Board of Commissioners specifically on homeless. And it will be the broad constellation that is on July 28th. I believe that's so we will be talking both about our sort of our long-term investment on a permanent shelter, all of the things that were encompassed in our shelter feasibility and homeless assessment system. But we'll also be talking about that sort of broader universe of the emergency questions, the inclement weather strategies, our strategic housing and staff person has done an incredible amount of work. So the council will have a lot of time to review that. The public will have a chance to see that. And those 4 recommendations, several people have referred to that report that was authored by Lori Hauber. The staff is looking through those recommendations. We are seeing how those align with what we're already doing, what other work we have. So all of that work is going on. It is going on right now, a little bit behind the scenes, but you will have a chance as a public to watch that July 28th meeting and see the materials that are available there. So with that, thank you all very, very much. And I believe we are ready to move on. We have a second item from the consent calendar.
I move to approve the items on consent calendar 2.
Second.
Any discussion, questions about this item? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not hearing Counselor Evans. I have 7 yes. Any opposed? So I don't have a Counselor Evans, but it passes at any rate. And hopefully we'll get his votes on the subsequent votes. Okay, action item number 6, an ordinance concerning system development charge methodology, amending section 7.715 of the Eugene Code 1971, and a resolution adopting the Parks and Recreation SDC project plan, repealing resolution number 4863 and providing an effective date, and a resolution adopting amendments to the system development charge methodologies, general methodology, and appendices A, E, and F, originally adopted by resolution number 4900, repealing resolution number 4929, repealing resolution number 4977, decreasing SDC administrative fees, providing a phased SDC increase, and providing an effective date. And my understanding is that we will have a brief staff presentation first, Manager. Is that right?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So it's been such a long time since you.
Yes, Councilor Evans.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I was muted. Record me as an aye for the last vote.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much.
All right. I was just going to say, normally when you give us direction to come back with an action item, we just put it on here without a presentation. But tonight, it's been such a long time, we thought it would be helpful to have just a really brief 5-minute presentation just to remind you and everybody else watching what we're doing tonight with SDCs. So Carolyn Burke, I believe, is going to kick it off.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so yes, I'm Carolyn Burke. I'm the Parks and Natural Resource Planning Manager. And also with us tonight is Deb Gillardy, who is our SDC consultant with Gillardy Rothstein Group. And I am going to share my screen with you here. Okay, you seeing that? Great. Okay, so this all really started about 2 years ago when you adopted the new Parks and Recreation System Plan. In that planning document is a project list. And that project list then requires us to update our system development charge methodology so that our SDCs can act in support of that project list. So that's where we started several years ago. And then we started talking to you about a year ago. We had a work session, and we've had a couple work sessions, actually. We've had a public hearing. And back in February, we brought back to you several options to consider in response to the public testimony that was received. And you gave us direction to make 4 specific changes to that proposed methodology. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes to go over those changes so we're all aware of what the proposal has in it tonight. So the first change is to reduce the SDC administrative fee. And this was something that came up in public testimony. Staff did some analysis and determined that we could indeed reduce the fee from 9% to 5%. And this applies actually to all SDC charges, not just Parks and Recreation, but to all of the different SDC systems. The second change that you asked us to make was to ensure that all of the projects that are funded through the 2018 bond measure and also require SDC matching funds to ensure that those can go forward regardless of what else that we do. We want to make sure that we can keep our commitments to the voters and that those projects will be eligible for SDC funds. So these are the projects on the 2018 bond measure that are also utilizing SDC matching funds. And you can see there's a lot of important projects for our community there, including a recent photo there from the downtown Riverfront Park, which is really shaping up nicely and exciting to see underway. The third change was to look at the implementation of the fees and the methodology structure. So we actually discussed several options with you, and where you landed was to delay any type of fee increase for 1 year and to act under our current methodology and our current fee. And then a year from now to go ahead and phase in the full fee increase over 3 years in incremental increases. Since that time, and in response to the economic impacts of COVID-19, we decided that it would be a good idea to extend that delay from 1 year to 1.5 years. And so this would not go into effect until January 1st of 2022. So that's a full 18 months without fee increases. In January of 2022, there would be an incremental 1/3 of the increase that would take effect. A year later, 2/3 of the fee increase would take effect. And then in January of 2024, which is 3.5 years from now, the full fee would take effect. And this chart shows where that places our rate in comparison to other Oregon communities. That blue bar in the middle of the chart is our current rate and would remain our rate for the next 1.5 years. And the second blue bar further to the right would be what our rate would be in 3.5 years in 2024 and how that compares. But I will note that in 3.5 years time, it's likely that some of these other communities will be raising their rates. And so at that time, this chart might look different than it does right now. And then the fourth change you asked us to make was around multifamily housing, and specifically incentivizing multifamily housing in order to meet our climate recovery goals and Envision Eugene. And so consistent with actually what the transportation SDC methodology did, we looked at multifamily homes of 2 or more bedrooms that are within 1/4 mile of a frequent transit network, and those would receive a 30% adjustment in their fee. If you're within a 1/2 mile radius of the frequent transit network in that dark green area, you would get a 20% adjustment. And all other 2+ bedroom multifamily units throughout the city would see a 10% adjustment. And we eliminated the 3+ bedroom category entirely because it was pretty expensive, and it was just difficult to incentivize the larger multifamily housing. So now 2+ bedroom is our largest multifamily category. So that's the information that is in your packet tonight, and there are 3 actions that are required of you in order to implement this. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much. So let me get to my queue. It looks like we have Councilor Clark. Why don't you take it away, Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Carolyn, thank you very much for the presentation. And I also appreciate the thoughtful way that you've mitigated back some of the impacts of increased fees. But I do want to remind my colleagues that in an uncertain and knowing way, each and every time we've talked about a major project, I've brought up the question, would we endanger this project like the riverfront the other day and all the rest of them if we left the SDCs where they are without increase? And so, Sarah, or I guess City Attorney, my question would be, If we were to vote down any manner of increase, would they stay the same, or would we, like budgeting authority, lose authority in some fashion without altering methodology?
Are you going to answer that, Emily? Do you want me to?
I can answer part of it. I mean, if you chose not to take action tonight on this package, the current rates and methodology would stay in place.
That's what I was looking for. Okay, thank you. The thing that
Councilor Clark, can I just jump in there really quick?
Well, that was my question.
Because I think.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, I'll let it go.
Okay. I just wanted to finish my point first, which was that we can vote this down and leave the methodology in place that is there now, and the amount that's going to be charged will be the same. We won't endanger any major projects we have, and in fact, based on the first presentation, we'll have $57 million in new projects with the current methodology. Now, as my colleague, Councilor Zelenka is fond of saying with regard to solutions to things, and there not being a silver bullet, but instead silver buckshot, it's the same thing with housing prices. There's no one cause for housing costs to be so extraordinarily expensive. There are a lot of little ones, and this is yet another one. And when we're in a market like we are, where housing costs are rising at the rate they are, and we don't lose anything substantial by not increasing the amount it costs to buy a home, it seems irresponsible of me. To me, it seems irresponsible of us to continue to make housing more expensive for a wish list that we cannot afford, up and beyond that which we've already committed to, and that which will be $57 million of new projects. So I hope my colleagues will consider not altering the methodology tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Manager, did you want to speak to anything that was asked before?
Yeah, I wasn't going to speak to the methodology because I think what he's saying is correct, but there is one element of making sure that all those projects are adopted and on the list, or you will have an impact to major projects. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Right. Okay, Councilor Zelenka.
Yeah, on that point. So, I mean, the projects that Mike has been talking about were projects that were already in the queue and fully funded. So by not increasing the fee over time, that means that a lot of these projects, which have the increase already baked into their funding, won't be fully funded and probably won't be done. So that's a long list of projects that would be impacted, and maybe staff could address that issue more directly about the future projects that won't get done because we wouldn't have the funding.
Sure. So basically, when we put together the SDC project list, we started with the project list that was adopted in the system plan, but that has a longer time horizon than our SDC project plan. So we eliminated priority 3 projects, which are basically beyond the 20-year planning window. So that reduced the project list pretty significantly. But then we also looked at what are the capacity enhancing projects on that list, because SDCs are only really charged for projects that expand capacity. So anything that was not capacity enhancing was taken off the list. And so we've done what we can to whittle down that project list. It's still an $87 million project list. And so at the end of the day, and so if we don't increase the fees to support that project list, then a lot of those, particularly probably the priority 2 projects, there just won't be funding to support those. You're correct that those that are already in the gate, those that we've made commitments to through the bond measure, we can definitely move forward on those. But beyond that, it will, we'll have to make some different decisions about what to fund and what not to fund.
So 87 million versus 57. So about a third of it wouldn't get funded if we don't change the fee. So that's not acceptable to me. I very much appreciate staff listening to council and coming back with a decrease in the fee, 9 to 5%. The overall amount has been decreased. We're delaying implementation, and then we're phasing it in. So we're taking into consideration the recession that's upon us. And as just talked about, these funds are necessary to fund the projects on the list. They just won't go forward if we don't have the money for them. And I very much like that we incentivize multifamily housing around the transit corridor. So I think the package that has been brought back to us reflects what we talked about at council. And I think it's a good modification and reduction, substantial reduction, as a matter of fact, and delay in implementation and take into consideration the economic circumstance we find ourselves in. So all of that makes me feel like this is a pretty good compromise package, that a reduction package that still gets us a lot of where we want to go. It's not the full meal deal, but it is still very worthy package that needs to go forward. So I encourage people to support it. I will.
Hey, Councilor Pryor.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation. I think it was very good, particularly in trying to frame the adjustments that you've made. I can remember when you first brought this, or when staff first brought this, it was a lot of money in a relatively short amount of time and a large project list. And we basically said, you know, that's a lot of money trying to be done in a short amount of time, and it's a lot. And what you did was you listened to us and you went back and you reduced the money through a combination of ways of doing it, reducing fees, implementing over a phased approach. You also said we can do these projects over a longer period of time. So we don't have to get them all done right away. We can spread them out. And what that did was it kind of shifted things from priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. We're now doing the higher priority items, but we're doing them over a longer period of time. And then the third element was to say the list, we cut off some of the projects. So what I'm trying to say is you listen to us, and I think what you're bringing back to us is what we asked for. We asked for a reduced amount, or at least a phased amount. We asked for a reduced list of projects, or a more focused list of projects. And we asked for it to be spread out over a longer period of time. And that's what you did. And so in that case, I think I'm more comfortable than certainly with what you brought to us the first time, which was a very heavy lift. That was a big sandwich to eat. And now I'm much more comfortable with the bites that you've brought to us now. So I'm happy to support the proposal that you have modified in response to what we asked for.
Thank you, Captain Metaphor.
Councilor Gay.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn, for bringing this back. It feels like this has been a really long conversation, but I think it's been a really good one because, like Chris mentioned, there's been a lot of changes along the way, and I think they've been positive changes. And even tonight, I appreciate the change to adding that extra half of a year in light of what is going on right now in our community. I think that's a great, I'm really glad you guys just did that on your own and you're just responding to the community and, and just stuck it in there. So I want to thank you for making that adjustment. I know we all know that, our park system is not perfect and we have areas that are underserved. And I think making a commitment to better that, the Parks Department has really stepped up and recognized where they need to put efforts in. And I really appreciate the work you guys have done. And I as well will be supporting what you've brought forward today.
Okay, I have Councilor Clark wanting a second round. Does anyone else want a first round who hasn't had a chance to speak? Okay, all right, Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Carolyn, please understand, I think you guys do an excellent job. I don't think our parks are just okay. I think they're some of the best compared to any city in the state, in the region, in this part of the country. We have amazing parks. As a matter of fact, I would suggest, I don't know the exact data, you may, that we have more square footage, square acreage of parks per capita in our city than in almost any in the state. I would think that we have an abundance of parks, and that's what people love here, and that's awesome. And you guys do an excellent job maintaining them and building. What I'm suggesting is we have more than we can afford relative to what it costs us. And the thing I would say is, could you bring up that group slide again that shows the other communities and their rates, just so I can point something out? Is that possible?
Yeah, just give me a second here.
When my time stops, that'll be cool too.
That one?
Yeah, and the thing I would ask my colleagues to look at is that as we grow towards the other blue bar there, it's not so much all of the communities that are in the state that are important in the comment that I brought up previously on a couple of occasions. The most important communication from my perspective is to ask, if you're a builder, where are you going to build in this area? And those alternatives are Creswell, Junction City, Cottage Grove, and our surrounding areas, Anita. And as you look towards where we're heading, we will be the most expensive by a lot with SDCs. And if you're a builder, where do you choose to build? You do it where it's most expensive and you will make the least amount of money. That's the problem that I don't think we're looking at appropriately. We're going to do a great job with our parks, but we're going to make housing more expensive in an already crisis environment. And the thing I would remind my colleagues is that 3 years ago, this council made a commitment that we had 3 major priorities. Number 1 was to do something about homelessness, and we had the TAC report and all of the things we're doing there. Number 2 was policing, and we've made a commitment and a massive effort on that front. But the 3rd thing was the cost of housing, and the only thing we've done is increase fees to make it more expensive. We have not made a major effort yet to make housing more affordable. And right now tonight, if we pass this, which I suspect we will make the problem worse. And I'm asking us to just not do it right now. Thank you.
Okay, looks like Councilor Zelenka has a second comment as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on why this is important, and in particular parks and the park and rec system. Not only are parks a quality of life issue, but in the future, especially in the era of COVID, people are going to be working more and more from home and being able to locate wherever they want to, because they're not necessarily going to be working out of an office space. So they could live anywhere. And the fact that our parks are of such high quality and continue to be, and we're investing in them, means that people are going to want to live here because this is the place to be. And so that is our competitive advantage in the region for wanting to attract businesses and to attract people. So, and then finally, I would also point out that people in Eugene really love our parks. The percentage of people that voted for the bond and the levy was 2/3 of the population, which is pretty unheard of for a pretty substantial amount of money that we are investing in our parks. And so this is just to bolster that, what people have already told us, that they want us to invest in parks and they think that they're extremely important for quality of life, competitive advantage reasons.
Okay, I think we're ready to put a motion on the table. Oh, yeah, Councilor Semple, go for it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Clark. I was all ready to vote for this, and I really appreciate the reduction by 1/3 and putting it off. Because we passed the levy and the bond, we've already put a lot of money into parks. And I think they're really important. I think that they're important for everyone, all different, it's an equitable thing. But we need more housing, and we haven't done anything to incentivize it. So I'm changing my mind on this one. Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to ask you to put a motion on the table.
Got it. I move to adopt the proposed ordinance in attachment A, an ordinance concerning system development charge methodology, amending section 7.715 of the Eugene Code 1971.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. 1,
Aye.
3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? 2, and so that passes. Thank you very much. Now there's a second motion.
I move to adopt the proposed resolution in attachment B, a resolution adopting the Parks and Recreation SDC project plan, repealing resolution number 4863 and providing an effective date.
Second?
Second.
Okay, comment, Councilor Clark?
Sorry there. If we were willing to sit down and do the work right now, this is the place where we could do it. We could take a look at this project list we're about to put forward, because the conversation between Carolyn and Alan was very general about which particular parks that we may or may not be building in the future, depending on our vote on this. And we could talk about the specifics of them. And we could talk about which ones we really can afford versus making housing much more expensive, or the ones that maybe aren't necessarily. But the point is, we're not having the conversation about our wish list, and we don't know. We just know that there's a list of them. So I wish we were going to do that work and have a more thorough conversation, because we're making housing more expensive in the process.
Okay, any other comments from council on this? Councilor Semple.
I want the parks. We can add this later. I think that with the changing financial situation ahead of us, this is something we could take a pause on. I don't want to, but I think we should for now. Thank you.
Any other comments on this? All in favor of the motion, please say aye or raise your hand. 1, 2,
Aye.
4, 5, 6. Opposed? 2. Okay, thank you. That passes. All right, and then the third resolution.
I move to adopt the proposed resolution in attachment C, a resolution adopting amendments to the system development charge methodologies, general methodology, and appendices A, E, and F, originally adopted by resolution number 4900, repealing resolution number 4929, repealing resolution number 4977, decreasing SDC administrative fees, providing a phased SDC increase, and providing an effective date.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? 2. And that passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carolyn, for your report and explanation and endurance through a very long process. Thanks so much. All right. The next action item, an ordinance concerning shared micro-mobility devices, amending section 3.005 of the Eugene Code 1971, adding sections 3.570, 3.572, and 3.574 to that code, and authorizing a pilot program. Manager, do you need to speak to this?
Only if you need a reminder about what it is you're voting on.
I think we're probably clear.
Let me just say one thing. There's 2 actions you're taking tonight. The first one is around allowing the electric scooter micromobility device program through the licensing. And the second one is about the use of paths.
Correct. Okay. Councilor Semple, you want to put a motion on the table?
This one's great. I get to repeat just what you said. I move to adopt the ordinance concerning shared micromobility devices, amending section 3.005 of the Eugene Code 1971, adding sections 3.570, 3.572, and 3.574 to that code and authorizing a pilot program.
You have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, please raise your hands or say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 and opposed? 1. Thank you. So that passes. Thank you. And now the next action, an ordinance concerning the use of micromobility devices and amending sections 5.010 and 5.160 of the Eugene Code 1971. And Councilor Semple, you want to put that motion out?
I could just say so moved, but I move to adopt the ordinance concerning the use of micromobility devices and amending sections 5.010 and 5.160 of the Eugene Code 1971.
Second?
Second.
Councilor Zelenka, do you want to speak to that? And Councilor Siret? Okay.
A couple more years of this, I'll get used to unmuting myself. I will support this, but I also wanted to mention that I also crafted a motion that I think went around to council to ask the Willamette Citizen Planning Committee to look at shared use paths, and I would like to introduce that after this motion passes. If it passes.
Okay. Councilor Siret, did you want to speak to this?
I wanted to ask about the status of the motion that Councilor Zelenka just mentioned. So I'm good. Thanks.
All right. Excellent. All right. All in favor of this motion, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
7. All opposed? 1. Okay. That passes. Thank you very much. Councilor Zelenka, do you want to put your motion out?
Yeah, just a tiny bit of background. Currently the Willamette plan does not allow these kind of devices in the park or in the area in East Altbaker Park. So that's been a long-standing thing, but it also this includes electric bicycles and scooters. I think that they already go through that. The big issue here is for people who are commuting from Springfield to Eugene and vice versa. That is the main path if they're not going to go on the busy street of Franklin to get back and forth between the two communities. And as we have these alternative modes of transportation, that corridor in particular is very important. So they don't have to have them go everywhere, run amok in the park or in the area, but I want them to get back to us and look at it. So I move to direct the city manager to seek input from the Willamette Citizen Planning Committee about the allowance of electric power micro mobility devices on all or a limited number of shared use paths within East Altenbaker Park, and then to schedule a city council work session to discuss the possibility.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion, questions about that? Okay. All in favor, please raise your hands or say aye. 1, 2,
Aye.
4, 5, 6, 7 opposed. 1. Okay. Thank you very much for that addition. That's great. And now we move on to action 9, an ordinance reducing the speed limit to 20 miles per hour on streets in residential areas. Councilor Semple, you want to put that motion on the table?
I move to adopt the ordinance reducing the speed limit to 20 miles per hour on local streets in residential areas.
Second.
All in, oh, you want to speak to it? Clark, go for it.
Yeah, I sense this will pass. I just want to say real quickly, I appreciate this finally coming to us. There are a number of my constituents in North Eugene who have been begging for this and changes in the speed limits for a long time on some very dangerous roads in North Eugene. So I'm happy to see this finally coming to us for their sake.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, Councilor Zelenka.
So the process for changing them once we do this is what? You're
we
on
have a
mute.
provision in the ordinance that says that this will take effect on specific roads, essentially when the signs are changed. So section 2 of the ordinance says that it'll take effect on a local street upon the city's removal of any 25-mile-an-hour sign and installation of a 20-mile-an-hour sign.
And the specific streets, it's not every street.
It's not. The state uses a term that is the residence district, but it's defined very explicitly in the statute. And for our purposes, and Chris may want to speak to this in more detail, but for our purposes, it's generally those local residential streets where this can happen.
Right. So they'll drop down to 20.
Councilor Evans, did you have a comment on this? I keep seeing your.
No, I didn't, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Councilor Semple, you have a comment, question?
Thank you. I think this is really important for all the wards. I'm glad to see it coming, but I'm going to vote for it. But in this turbulent financial time, do we know how much it will cost to change the signs?
If I may, Mayor, Chris Henry.
Please.
We have allocated approximately $30,000 to purchase the signs, and we would plan for installation beginning in the fall. Hopefully we are able to achieve that in one season over a few months. It may take up to a year for us to implement or deploy all the new 20-mile-per-hour signs.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. 1, 2,
Aye.
5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you all. That passes. And finally, action number 10, an ordinance concerning state traffic laws, amending section 5.005 of the Eugene Code 1971 and providing an immediate effective date.
And here's the echo. I move to adopt an ordinance concerning state traffic laws, amending section 5.005 of the Eugene Code 1971 and providing an immediate effective date.
Second.
Okay, seeing no questions or comments, all in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. 1, 2, 3,
Aye.
5, 6, 7, 8, and that passes 8-0. Thank you so much. That was a lot of work and a long meeting. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Jessica. Incredible management of the meeting, and everybody have a good night. We are adjourned.